Today we're talking about how I've modified the 7artisans 25mm f1.8. But first, if you're new to the channel, my name is Anson, and on this channel we talk about filmmaking, specifically budget gear, tutorials, and a behind the scenes look at the projects that I'm working on. So if that's something you're into, consider subscribing. The 7artisans 25mm f1.8 is easily one of the most search items when it comes to my channel, which means that basically people find my channel because they're searching for this lens. I haven't done that many videos with this lens, but it's easily one of my top search terms when it comes to YouTube. And so I polled my community to see what they would like to get out of this lens going forward. A lot of people talked about doing short films. Some people wanted to see what it would look like if I did it on paid or corporate gigs, and those things may occur here in the future. But one thing that I wanted to discuss with you today is a couple of modifications I've made to this lens, and so let's just dive in and talk about what those modifications are. My first modification is not really a modification to the lens itself, but it's putting on some macro tubes and getting some macro shots with this lens. This past week I posted on TikTok as well as Instagram. Yes, I have a TikTok now, so please go follow me. I think I have 2 followers right now. Just please. If like 50 of you went, I'd be happy. But what I did is I put some photo deox macro tubes onto this lens and did a time lapse with the OG pocket cinema camera, which is amazing by the way. And I got some really unique results with a dissolving pill, as well as doing a macro shot of a patch that was made for me from my wife. Now, like I said, this is not really a modification to the lens itself, but why do I like this setup for macro shots? One, this lens, you can already see this lens is tiny, and with the OG pocket camera, that is a tiny camera as well. And so with putting on some macro tubes, I can actually get into some places I couldn't normally get with some of my bigger cameras. So I really like this setup, even though this is not intended to be a macro lens. But putting on some macro tubes really changed that. And with it being so small, I was able to get in some unique places, get some unique shots as far as macro videography. So like I said, the macro tubes aren't really a modification to the lens itself, but this next modification is actually on the lens itself. And that's the fact that I have put step-up rings on this lens, so I can easily find an ND filter that fits this lens, as well as a focus gear ring that helps pull or rack focus with this lens a lot easier. The one reason I don't use this lens more often is because the focus ring is the smallest part of this lens. And so if I have it on a bigger camera, especially if I'm using rods like this, I have to reach around the rods to get to the focus ring. But with this focus gear, the way that it's set up is the inner diameter fits around the focus ring of this lens, but the actual focus ring is a little bit thicker, and so the gears stick out a little bit further, and it actually is wider than the whole lens itself, and so it lends itself to do more of a follow focus system, or if you're just handheld focus racking or focus pulling, it's a little bit easier to grab because it's just a little bit wider, and mixed with the gears, it gives you a bit more to grab onto. One thing that a lot of people complain about with this lens is the fact that the focus ring and the aperture ring are really close together, and sometimes it's a little bit harder to tell which one you're turning. This solves that problem. So having this focus gear has been a game changer. I've really enjoyed using this lens. I already enjoyed using this lens, but I felt like with the shortcoming that this lens has, this focus gear and the step-up rings have been a huge problem solver. So again, this is not really intended to be a super long video. I just want to bring a couple of these modifications to your attention. Macro tubes aren't really anything new, but I felt like it would be a good idea to show you guys what it looks like if you were to put macro tubes on this lens. But I do feel like the focus gear is just a game changer for this lens. And hopefully if you've been on the fence about this lens, you've really liked the image, but not really the build and how it's set up, this may be a game changer for you as well, and maybe the thing that kind of sends you over the edge to pick up this lens. So that's it for me. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like. If you're digging the overall content from the channel, consider subscribing. As always, go and find your journey, go embrace life, stay safe, be happy, support each other, wash those hands, and I'll see you here next time. Peace.